You're listening to 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College in Garden City, New York. I'm Bill McIntyre here with Jon Gallo for another edition of this week's Long Island News, the news show that brings you news stories about Long Island and about Long Islanders. And today our special guests are Town of Hempstead Supervisor Don Clavin and Town Clerk Kate Murray. Hello, folks. How are we?
Hello. Good to. I was going to say see you. Hear you.
Yeah.
Good morning to everybody.
Hello, Don. How are you?
Likewise. Thanks for joining us. Hope you guys are having a good end of your week and end of the summer.
Yeah.
We'll talk about some of those summer things that hopefully folks can still enjoy out here, like the beaches, for the next couple of weeks, as we still got plenty of warm weather. But let's jump into it and talk about an issue that we were hoping we wouldn't have to be continuing to talk about at this point. I know we've discussed with both of you in terms of the response to COVID, and obviously, we had a point where thankfully we seriously were at a lot better stage than we were at the peak of the pandemic. But the Delta variant has kind of reared its head and made things a bit more complicated. But to that point, I know both of you have been very active in the Vax partnership with Mount Sinai, I believe the Vax mobile unit that you guys are doing. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about that and how, you guys are kind of still dealing with the COVID, again, kind of issue just locally here in the town of Hempstead.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. This Delta variant's really, making a comeback. We've seen the numbers pop up. I think yesterday's test positive numbers were the highest since April. Really, so it's a real concern. We've taken significant precautions here in the town with our coworkers, but with the public, this initiative with the Mount Sinai has really been a great success. Last year, we helped invest in $1 million mobile unit that, in the late stages of last year, we used for testing. We were able to test. And then with the idea when the vaccine would roll out, we've rolled into the vaccine program. And just last week, Kate was there. They administered the 5,000th vaccine to a resident right, at a sort of a walk-in location. It's been a real success. And what it's also helped do is really get into every community. Some people, didn't have the means to get to a hospital. Maybe they didn't get to, one of these other facilities where they had the pop-ups. What we've been able to do is team up with not only, local, in one instance, one of the most successful was a local library. We teamed up with chambers. We've teamed up with other organizations. Heck, we've parked it on the street in some locations and, in areas and just had walk-ups. And that's really the way, we're going to get back to normal, is getting vaccines to people who want them. But unfortunately, with this Delta variant, we really have to be very, very cautious. Kate?
Yeah, no, it's true. And, to that point that Don was making, we're with this Vaxmobile, that's the whole point. It's so incredibly flexible and easy to get into places where obviously a brick and mortar scenario wouldn't work. And so we have really reached out and connected with a whole array of community organizations. For example, today's Friday, the August 20th, my parish, St. Bernard's in Levittown, for example, they're having their annual block party on the church grounds. And so Mount Sinai is going to be offering through our Vaxmobile, they're going to be offering free vaccinations between 10 and 2. And then our own internal EMS team is going to go to St. Bernard's, and they will be administering free vaccinations on demand from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. as well. And, I just had a call from my local librarian in Levittown. She wants to set up a Vaxmobile. And a very nice incident in Roosevelt. A gentleman called. I handle the block party permits. And he was really wonderful. He said he not only wanted to have a nice party on his block, a lot of great families, as always, in Roosevelt, but he also wanted to have the Vaxmobile, if possible, come to his block party. And we're making it happen. I asked Don, what he thought about it. And of course, he was 150% on board. So this Sunday, there's going to be a great block party going on in Roosevelt. And the Vaxmobile will be there for a couple hours, dispensing free vaccinations for anybody at the block party or beyond. that wishes to get vaccinated. And it's those kinds of really grassroots or local organizations that we've been able to partner with. And it just is thinking outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
And
Definitely.
it's getting into niches and literally neighborhoods where brick and mortars couldn't do so. So it has been a tremendously successful outreach to get folks who otherwise might not get vaccinated at all. And that's the bottom line. And that's our goal, of course.
Yeah,
yep, amen to that.
It is a real comfort level, as Kay was alluding to, when residents, maybe some have a hesitation. When it's on your block and you see your neighbors getting it, it's, there's more of a comfort level and they'll go out. We've seen that on a regular basis. And that's been the beauty of this partnership. And I think the real success of getting these, getting people to a comfort level that might have had a hesitation and being able to explain it and being on their block, you can't get any easier than that.
Yeah, that's you bring up a big issue there, Don, because we're talking about like you making the vaccines available to people who want to get it. And the issue is going to be sometime along this timeline, we have to go and find the people who are still holding out, so to speak, because things opened up and people were relaxing. But John and I have always said on the show as we went along that as soon as those numbers start to go back up, all of this is going to be history, and we're going to head toward another lockdown or head toward mask mandates, whatever it takes. And the numbers they have started to go back up. So, good for you guys. I mean, at least you're making it available to people who, like you said previously, couldn't get it or can't get to the locations to get the vaccine. But it's going to be a long battle.
Of course, yeah. Especially considering the booster shots discussion, which we can get into in a moment. But certainly, like you said, trying to get everyone who hasn't gotten their first shot and making it as easy as possible, as programs like the Vax Mobile with Mount Sinai do, which is bringing it to the community, bringing it to the community-based organizations and trusted messengers like libraries, where intergenerationally we depend on for literally information and other great things in our community. So that's certainly great, and I think you both raised very good points about the impact of that in specific. And I know that's been going on since March, I believe, right? That's how long it's been going? Is that correct?
Yeah, it kicked off. Really, yeah, the first week of March, that's when the vaccine got a little more accessible. And like I said, Mount Sinai's been great. We've been going locations. You're 5, 6. One time we went 7 days a week. They try and take it off minimally to do a little service to keep it going. But they've been wonderful partners, and I love the idea, Kate's point today of, being at St. Bernard's. It's really, finding partners to team up with, and we're going to do it. Funny story, I went to the dry cleaner at 8 o'clock this morning, and he was wondering if we could park it in his parking lot for a while. He said, Don, I get 200 people a day. You think it might work? And I said, look, you know what, let's try it.
Maybe not a bad idea. Yeah, maybe not a bad idea.
And to that point, actually, I did want to mention that organizations that are interested in scheduling a visit for eligible residents, is it true that they can still call the Town of Hempstead or email, it looks like vaxmobile@snch.org to find out more about how maybe their small business could do that, or their kind of community organization can set that up?
Absolutely. Yes. They should reach out, and we'd love to team up and partner with them. That's the whole purpose of it. And you know what? We hope anybody that's listening will do so. And you know what? We'll get where we need to be to get through it together.
Definitely. And that's definitely important because as was reported recently, Nassau County has apparently an 85% of vaccination rate for first doses for residents 18 and up, again, that have received the first dose. And certainly I know that the county executive and other folks are trying to, kind of close that gap and meet people where they are, and, county workers and other folks, trying to, like you said, give all options available instead of having to go down the mandate road if possible. So that's great to see. And we certainly encourage everyone, again, to go to vaxmobile@snch.org or call the Town of Hempstead at 516-812-3678 for more information on setting that up, again, wherever you are. So, okay, that's awesome. And that's certainly important information. But maybe let's, just continue the conversation a little bit longer in terms of COVID, because a lot of news has been happening lately, and in specific, it looks like we're going to be having a new governor at the helm, the first female Governor Kathy Hochul will be taking over in about less than a week's time. And I know she's gone on record in terms of being, it looks like, in favor of some kind of mask mandate, potentially. Yet I know the county executive and a lot of other Long Island legislators have kind of been more in favor of pushing for school district kind of discretion. So where do you fall into that conversation, I guess?
You know what? I have three little ones. You know, I have a young lady who's starting high school, a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. And I've really seen firsthand some of the issues with having children masked. I think it's really got to be a district by district decision, really where they look at the numbers. You know, not every district has high significant numbers. And also, you know, they're lowering the level for testing. Maybe there'll be the option, you know, if a parent wants to send their child to school and wear a mask, they should have that right. But, you know, if a parent sees the numbers are at a comfort zone, they think the school district set up in such a way that they're protecting their child, I don't know if I support a mask mandate for these children. I will tell you firsthand, I really saw the impact really on my young guy, my 8-year-old, where last year with all the masks, the learning definitely dropped off. And these are real concerns that every community have. And you've already seen that look on the island. You've had, I think, 1 or 2 school districts in Suffolk County that are not going to require it. There's a lot of talk here in Nassau County that we really should go to a district by district decision on the process. And you know what? I really do support that. You know, I love my children. I'll do everything I can for my children. I'll protect my children. But you know what? I do think you can't just make a blanket decision like that. And I hope the governor, when she takes the oath next week and takes over, you know what, will listen and listen not only to the schools, but listen to the parents. Because like I said, I've seen that turn with the students, that there is a real issue with what they're learning and if they really are learning at this point with these masks for the little ones. And when you talk about, you know, the new governor coming in, and you know, you say that the first in the nation. Hey, I like to always point out to people all the time. You know, my friend Kate Murray, she was the first female executive here in the town of Hempstead for a long time. Kate.
Yep.
But you know, just a quick point on the masking issue, and you know, you have to take your hat off to the Long Island school districts. I think they you know, overall, I think they did an excellent job. Last year with the pandemic, the K through 5, they immediately sent them back to school in September of 2020. They took all the precautions, and I have to tell you, there were very, very few outbreaks in the school districts throughout the course of the year. So to give local control, it's not just a crapshoot at this point. They have proven over the past academic year, 20 to 21, that they know what to do with their children. They know what to do with their students. They've done a great job by and large. And so I think it would behoove the incoming governor to seriously look at local control. You see a number of school board meetings have gone on through the night. There's lots of discussion amongst parents. But I think local control, given the fact that they have a good track record from the 2020 to 2021 academic year, I think, you know, give them some faith and credit for what they've done.
Most definitely.
They've done a good job. I think they should have the authority to control what they're doing right in their own neighborhood.
There's an interesting issue here, though. I think the sense is the kids themselves don't seem to have any problem with wearing a mask. It's their parents that are arguing about this at school board meetings and in other, venues. The kids, I think, John and I said when this first started happening, we applauded them because they made it work. The kids themselves, everybody's saying, oh, how do you keep a mask on a second grader? Oh, how do you keep a mask on a third grader? You know what? They did it. And relatively quietly. It was their parents that didn't like to see the kid with a mask on his face. And so they got vocal. There's some other issues with this, too. I had a discussion yesterday with a mom whose son was sent home from school. After lunch, apparently he threw up. And so, okay, they sent him down to the nurse, and she sent him home. He could only go back to school after he got a COVID test, which the mom found out was going to cost her $130. Initially when we all went to get vaccines, that was the first question: how much is this going to cost me? And of course, they made it available and it's free, right? Thank goodness. But now, as things start to trail off, parents are worried because a nurse can send a kid home, and a parent is now hit with a bill they didn't expect to get. There's another issue too that. And again, Kate, I kind of agree with you. I think, the schools themselves in their areas should be the ones that call the shots. Some of the Board of Education meetings, though, there are players getting up to speak at these meetings who don't even belong in that school district and are starting to voice their concerns. Or
I laugh at that because, Kate was supervisor for a long time. We do have a lot of people show up at the town board meetings that don't even live in the town of Hempstead. So I recognize that, and you're right. And sometimes these people who come to the meeting who don't even live in the community, don't even live in the county.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't really have an ulterior motive.
Yes.
That's
my concern
was,
my concern was what was the security at those meetings, and how do we decide, and how do we make sure that the people who live in that area are the ones making the decisions?
Absolutely. And when I was advocating for local control, that's exactly what I meant. Really local control.
Right.
Meaning people who actually live in the neighborhood. And, those are the folks who should, have a significant say in what their school district is doing.
Because we don't need
good luck to them all.
Yeah,
it's definitely a difficult situation.
Of course. We don't need these decisions made politically. We need them made scientifically.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. No, most
Absolutely
definitely.
Right.
By the people they impact most directly, like you said, the parents, the teachers, and the folks that are a part of that school district individually. So that's definitely good. Appreciate obviously your perspective on it. Obviously, I think a lot of folks do feel that way. Obviously, others, feel that the Delta variant might be a slightly different kind of thing in terms of the infection rate. So I know there's some slightly different concerns, but nonetheless, I think this conversation keeps going on, especially with where the new governor seems to be on it. But let me just segue just real quick. We're going to get off of COVID right after this last one. Let me remind listeners they are listening to this week's Long Island News on 90.3 WHPC with Bill McIntyre, myself, Jon Gallo. Also, thankfully joined by Town of Hempstead Supervisor Don Clavin, and also Town of Hempstead Town Clerk Kate Murray. So just the last thing, I think it was reported a day or two ago, and I know this was an issue that both of you were, kind of leading from the front on in terms of school sports kind of activities and reopening. And it sounded like the state was saying that as of now, the guidelines and recommendation is that there are no restrictions. So I imagine both of you, that kind of, sounds like a good thing, right?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. It's funny. Kate hit it on the head before, and she said the school districts really have done a magnificent job individually of really putting in, precautions and safeguards for the children. And you saw that when they really opened up the sports to these kids last year. And again, they really, their focus of these school districts is really our children. And the success speaks for itself. That's why I was really relieved when the state said there weren't going to be any requirements. They've done it before. We can do it again. They do it in a smart way. Right. And also, for these kids, it means so much. Really, the 1 year, 2 years ago, when these kids lost their entire season, when they initiated those sports last year, the happiness on these children, it's the world to them. So we should do everything that we can, yes, to protect our kids, but also give them the happiness and joy they really, really need at this time. So I think that was wonderful news on so many different levels.
Yeah. That's, I knew that. I thought of you specifically, I think, along with a few other electeds when I heard that news. And it looks like, thankfully, again, that is a sign that, even though things aren't necessarily moving in the right direction, they're still at a stable enough place that, like you said, we don't need to deter those important social activities and physical health kind of activities that, team sports tend to be. So,
absolutely. Let the kids play.
Let the kids play.
Yep. As you say, exactly. So that's that was interesting. And that was, like I said, something I definitely want to, bring up to the both of you. But now I think we can transition again from, the actual kind of COVID virus and, more again, still into this continued economic recovery that, you both are, trying to strive to help the town achieve. And I know one thing that is part of that specifically was extending the outdoor dining permit program, I believe, into October. So can you tell us exactly when that's going to go to, and why again that was an important decision?
Last year, when the pandemic was really in its height, we started having the discussions of how we could help local businesses and restaurants in particular who had to shutter. And their only means of surviving was literally setting up tables in front of their stores and doing takeout. And we sat down with a couple of restaurant owners and we came up with an initiative of having them apply through the building department to get permits for temporary outdoor seating. Let it be in their parking lots, on the side of the building. In fact, we had a couple who took, put it in the back of the building. And we said, the only thing we ask you to do is submit an application. We'll get an inspector out there to approve it right away. And there's no fee attached. We just, we're not looking for money. We want to help you. And it was a great success. Over 400 restaurants in the town of Hempstead were successful in applying and utilizing this and being able to survive. And what we've seen recently with this Delta variant is some people still are not comfortable going inside to a restaurant. Case in point, my friends were out last Thursday. It was a hot, muggy night. The entire facility, indoor restaurant, was air conditioned. They chose to sit outside under a tent because they have a health issue. They didn't feel comfortable, and they said, Don, it was packed outside and not inside. And most of the people shared their concerns. So what we announced last week, Kate, myself, the other board members, we're actually going to extend outdoor dining until October of 2022, almost a full year.
Wow!
Because this will, again, even with this Delta variant going up, this will give these restaurant owners the ability, I frankly think, to survive. And we did it at Borelli's right here right across the street from you guys. Frank took what was employee parking and made it into like a little oasis out there. And he said it's really helped him survive. Yeah. And I really think it's incumbent upon government to step in and do what we can to help. And you know what? And not make it a money issue. And that's why I said no fee attached. And we were there last week, and Kate will tell you, you know what? Frank was wonderful, and we were excited. And the feedback we received from hundreds of restaurants is great. They're happy about it, and it's going to be, you know what? Again, with this Delta variant, this could be the lifeline to survival.
I tell you what, I hope that's part of the new normal, because I think it's kind of, and this is an antiquated word, but I think it's kind of quaint.
I mean, who doesn't love al fresco dining, right?
Well,
high premium.
When you walk in, you're driving through a parking lot someplace and you see a whole section and people are having dinner, and I just think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it shows an active, live, bustling kind of like community and like business districts, and definitely for those kind of new trendy places, but also for those kind of stalwarts of the community like Borelli's. Full disclosure, I may have had my first birthday at that restaurant. So certainly, it's a part of a lot of our lives. And seeing in those places that have built up, a lot of cachet, like I said, intergenerationally, it's great to see that we do everything to keep those types of restaurants open, those mom and pop shops. So that's great. I thought it was till October of this year, but now you're saying no, definitely true until October of next year. That is very interesting, and like I said, I'm sure was welcome. News to the ears of business owners in the area.
Definitely.
And just a quick point, Don and Bill, also with regard to Don's program to extend it by really 14 months at this point. Also, those quick and free permits that Don was talking about for the restaurateurs to renew and extend their ability to have the outdoor dining. We do everything we can do to get that permit back into the restaurant's hands within 3 days. And so 72 hours, it doesn't cost a penny. And he really has cut through any kind of bureaucratic paperwork as well. So we try to really keep the hassle very, very minimal for our restaurants. They have enough on their plates. They don't need to have bureaucracy too.
Excuse the pun. I got that pun, Kate Murray. I heard that one.
Yeah. Well, we had a discussion with for a little while. We had, I believe, Michael Durso was on, and he actually created he created a bill that any fines that the restaurants had accrued during the pandemic, they could at least take off of their taxes. They could write those off, which, when we looked at that, we said, okay, that's helpful.
Yes.
To me, one of the things we saw, though, was that, restaurants bent over backwards trying to go with whatever rules existed on whatever day because they kept changing. I saw diners that they must have spent tens of thousands of dollars putting up plexiglass partitions and then somebody wasn't wearing a mask one day and an inspector came in and gave them a ticket for, and we just felt, I don't know about John, but I felt it was kind of predatory. I said,
yes.
You guys are saying in one sense you want to help these businesses, but then you put out the guys with their ticket books and you slammed them. I mean, they're already losing money hand over fist, and you just added insult to injury. I think that maybe a few more warnings would have been more, but we didn't really see that, though, from municipalities. I'm not talking about you guys specifically.
You did have times when either the fire marshal from the county or consumer affairs are going out. I think you guys are hit it on the head. Where we in our initiative we were saying we don't want any money. All you do is get a permit. We'll send somebody out there. I think in this with a pandemic going on, it really should be if the county fire marshal or the consumer affairs goes, it should be more of a warning right now. What these restaurant owners, they're not looking to violate. If you give them a warning, I'm sure they would have, accommodated and made the change. And I hope, that's a perspective they take in. You talk about outdoor, with the success of the outdoor dining, and she doesn't know I'm going to say this. One of the things we've seen in the town of Hempstead, we've put all of our operations either online or outside. Kate has been probably one of the busiest people in the town of Hempstead. With the positive side, I think the best part of her office are weddings. Kate, you guys would not believe how many weddings Kate has either performed or has, her staff has conducted during this pandemic. Kate, how many roughly?
We've hit 1,000.
Wow.
1,000 weddings. And
wow, it's a lot of parties.
Yes, exactly. The governor had, of course, he had issued a series of a number of emergency orders, and one was in, I think it was May or very, very early June of 2020, allowing town clerks to marry people over the computer like we're doing now, in a Zoom scenario. And we jumped right in, and so did a lot of couples who, obviously could not go the traditional route and have the big party and all the trappings, but still wanted to get married, of course, which is the important part of it. And
most definitely.
So we were able to accommodate, as I say, literally over 1,000 couples since those orders went into effect. Those orders expired about a month ago. And so we're back fully in person. And again, to keep the comfort level very high for our brides and grooms and everybody else whom we serve, we have, the entire office. Offices services are right on our back patio. So people don't even have to come into the building at all to access every service that I offer as town clerk. So you have the weddings, of course, we have our passport program, a child safety ID program, all of our licensing. And so it's all out there, the birth and death records. So whatever you could do in the building, in the town clerk's office, you can do right back out on our back patio in the fresh air and the open air. So it's proved very successful, and our building department is down there as well. So really the services that most people come to town hall for are right there for the asking. On
great.
the patio.
Well, that's great.
You talk about weddings too, and I thought of I think of catering halls. Now, a lot of people would just look at them as, well, that's just a restaurant. And you say, well, no, it's not really. And a lot of restaurants were caught off guard because they were not set up to do even takeout. And I learned a lot from a lot of the servers who were then out of work telling me about the restaurant business. And they said, it's not that easy to switch over from serving people inside your restaurant to creating a takeout, a quick takeout thing.
So, or catering halls. If you're going to do it in a space that normally has 500 people, where do you find that space?
And you certainly can't do outdoor dining. You can't do outdoor dining for a catering hall. It's one thing to have 40 people maybe outside on the sidewalk eating dinner. It's another thing to have 500. And so they really got, I think,
they got killed,
slammed. Yeah.
It was terrible.
But like obviously both of you in government and all the services you just mentioned, we definitely have to give a lot of props and obviously recognize how much effort and hard work went into trying to adapt to those evolving guidelines. And to Bill's point earlier, that yes, of course, definitely there were plenty of cases where a slap on the wrist might have been a little more productive than some kind of seemingly draconian fine. But then again, there were people probably who were a little more egregious and were knowingly flouting public health rules.
It takes all kinds. Yeah.
No, of course. So, like I said, there's a bit of balance, but I certainly hear the rationale of Assemblymember Durso's piece of legislation, and to the points that you both raised, and why we need to try to limit and minimize the burden on all those who are acting in good faith and are just trying to get day by day for themselves, their families, and their employees. And like you said, evolving times. I know in New York City, now you have to show a vaccine proof. So it's a different thing here than across county lines, and everywhere is a little bit different. So there's a lot of moving pieces, of course, and it's still fluid.
But Don, I think we will trumpet your idea that I love that you have people out and they got sidewalk dining. You're going to make that until October of 2022, and the idea that that's really helping. And you're not charging, people. So we're gonna trumpet that all over.
Definitely shouldn't be. If anyone missed the fact that it only takes about 3 days for the turnaround on the permit, verification. If anyone's ever tried to get permits for buildings or anything like that, that is certainly a pretty good feat. If you've ever dealt with the city of New York or some of the larger governments, it doesn't usually work that way. So that certainly is impressive on its own account. So let me just remind listeners that they are listening to this week's Long Island News here on 90.3 WHPC, voice of Nassau Community College, with Bill McIntyre, myself, Jon Gallo, and thankfully still joined by Town of Hempstead Supervisor Don Clavin, and also Town of Hempstead Town Clerk Kate Murray. So, okay, now that we've talked about that, another thing that the town has been really kind of in a unique position, we'll say, in terms of trying to help the residents, both the tenants and the small landlords of the town, is the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, which we wanted to discuss too, because again, the town is in a unique position as opposed to most of the state, where they opted into OTDA and the state kind of administering it, as a whole kind of system-wide thing. The town is doing it in a slightly different way, and I'm curious. Have you dealt with a lot of the same challenges and kind of roadblocks, to put it lightly, that the state has, or have you seen it be an easier process, maybe because of the scale or anything like that?
We have seen the problems with how this program was written. We teamed up with a great organization out here, to operate it. A couple other towns have. We've had great success. We've been able to help a lot of people, but we need to do more. We've seen the amazing thing about this program is it not only gives rental relief to people, but it also pays some of their underlying bills that they incurred during the pandemic, the height of it. In addition, not only can a renter pay, but actually the landlord can. So what we've tried to do in the program is focus on making sure we're reaching every community. The town of Hempstead's an incredibly diverse community. It's probably one of the most diverse in all the United States of America. And you look at the scale of it, you have 780,000 people. We've reached out and we're hitting community by community. We're doing it in multiple languages. We're doing it both digital and mail. We've also reached out community leaders because sometimes people just have a hesitation. They don't understand it. They feel, what's this government trying to do? So we've reached out to not only, the Team Long Island Housing Partnership, who are helping administer the program, but we've reached out to community leaders. Let it be, civic leaders. Let it be religious leaders. Let it be, mayors. We've teamed up with both the mayor of Freeport, who's been great, and the mayor of Hempstead. The two of them have been outstanding in trying to get residents in their communities to apply or get the landlords and work together to give them the assistance that's there. This money's there, and we want to see great success. We just started phase 2 on Wednesday. And as I said, we've even gotten more aggressive with getting the message out there because you know what? The state and other localities, they haven't seen the turnaround or the result that we want to. And we've all agreed the way to do it is by cranking it up and getting into everyone's house.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kind of like the vaccines, you have to know about it. It has to be right in front of you from a trusted messenger, and kind of be able to kind of weed through those kind of perceptions of what are the strings attached. Oh, this too good to be true, but the federal money's there, and if people need it, like we said, those tenants or the small landlords, if you're facing an issue with arrears, from the time of the pandemic, basically, certainly look into that. Am I correct that the enrollment or application period, like you said, it started about 2 days ago, but it should go through, I think, next month. It looks like September 21st. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And as I said, if residents have want to find out more, we've teamed up with really the Long Island Housing Partnership, who are an incredible group out here.
Yep.
They can reach out to the town. They can email us. We will get them in touch with them directly. And as you said, this money's there to help people. And a lot of people are struggling. People shouldn't have a hesitation to it, and there shouldn't be any obstacles. And that's why I said when the Housing Partnership said we're going to do bilingual pieces, I said great. Peter,
awesome.
He runs a great program. I said, you're a leader here. You know what we're trying to do to help people. Whatever you think we should do, we're not going to leave any stone unturned. We're going to get to every nook and cranny in every community. So I appreciate you pointing that out. But residents should call, and landlords too. And that's the best part is landlords can apply. And look, landlords have bills to pay. They still had to pay their taxes and all the
mortgages.
Utilities. Mm-hmm. Right. So this is their opportunity to really, get back the funds they might have lost during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because they're entitled to it as well.
Yeah, there was one story out of, I believe it was Huntington, the Huntington Book Review. That store has been there for a long time. A lot of famous people signing books and reading it. And,
sad.
Yeah, and it's going away. The last bit of info I heard was that there may be a new book entity that may take over. So
I saw that. That'd be exciting. Like you said, it's a staple in the community. People, it is funny. Some of the larger authors would actually, they were coming to Huntington's to sign and be there at night. So you don't want to lose that. Look, it's part of our fabric here. And I hope they find a way to either have it continue or have a successor that stays the same way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Cultural institutions. I know we've talked in the past about some of the programs for grants for the arts in terms of venues, and I think the Shuttered Venues Operators Program or something along those lines. So certainly, we want to see independent bookstores, stay in the town and throughout Long Island, obviously as well.
It always seems as though the arts take the brunt of, when money's a question, it's let's get rid of the arts.
Yeah, no, that definitely is, always a constant conversation, unfortunately. And we obviously don't have much time here left. So just in the few minutes that we do have, we just want to touch on a few other kind of more top line issues that are in the news that obviously are impacting the town and that you guys are involved with directly. So in terms of preparations for the tropical storm that seems to be coming our way, it looks like it's as of now the track is more towards the eastern end of Long Island, but still, I saw you. It looks like on social media getting ready with the town's employees just in case for this weekend. So just tell listeners what they need to know and how to be safe if they if there is something that is serious like Tropical Storm Isaias or God forbid like Hurricane Sandy again.
Unfortunately, I hate to report to you, actually had moved a little bit to the west. So now we are in more of the, and it is going to be most likely a level 1 hurricane. There's going to be rains starting Sunday all the way through Monday. So we're expecting significant storm, totals in rain. They're going to have sustained winds now. So we are taking our preparations. We're out cleaning the storm drains. We're actually, going to be advising all of our yards and residents to, today's the day or tomorrow morning, secure your boat if you have a boat. Right. Tie down anything in your backyard. Always be prepared for the worst. I think, Kate was a supervisor 12 years ago when we had a storm blow through this area that devastated like none others in 100 years. that's a lesson I learned. And Kate was great at leading us through that storm. But you saw the communities that were devastated for years. So I say to people, you don't know what the weather's going to do. How many times have you watched a weather, a meteorologist say, it's going to be an inch of snow, and next thing you know, you're waking up, it's 12 inches. Right. I'd rather always prepare for the worst. So, I'll be gassing up my car later on. I hope residents do. Right. I'll be grabbing a little water. Yep. But you know what?
Can't hurt.
The beaches are already seeing the riptides down here, so our lifeguards are on duty. So we're just urging residents to, be vigilant. Yeah. Take precautions. Always take this stuff seriously. And as I said, in the last 3 hours, it's tracked more towards us. So we're going to see it. Yeah. And as I said, Kate's experienced one of the worst ones here. So if somebody could give words of advice, I've always said Kate has that knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, Don, you really said it, but our entire South Shore of the town of Hempstead is just that, the beautiful South Shore. But of course, that makes us more vulnerable, like all of us as Long Islanders. So anybody in your yard, secure things, put things into your garage or your shed if there is anything that could be a flying projectile. So, make sure the things around your own home are secured. Get your batteries, get your water, as Don said, gas up your car. And, hopefully we prepare for the worst and it stays east. We wish the best, of course, to our neighbors to the east. And we hope that thing just flies away very quickly and doesn't damage any of us here on Long Island, for sure.
Yep. Yeah. Amen to that. And especially to those who want to be kind of, those deer seekers and be at the beach, if the storm's coming right in and riding the waves, let's not give our lifeguards any more work. They're already dealing with these shark sightings. I know which both of you have been very active on.
It's been Shark Week.
For a month at least or so, it seems. But like I said, thankfully, let's just remind Long Islanders that the beaches are safe and that sharks are a part of life in beach communities, and for the most part it's a very minor risk as opposed to many other things like driving a car or anything else that we do on a daily basis and not think about. So that's that PSA. And then just the last second here we have with you both. I did just want to mention, it looked like the town of Hempstead did do, it looks like a first TNR program event, Trap, Neuter, and Release program, which was interesting. And I'm curious if that'll happen more in the future. And then just the last thing, if you could mention about as well, the Narcan trainings that I believe the both of you have been doing with Councilmember D'Esposito. Can you just tell where listeners can find out more about both of those, if those are going to go forward?
Yeah, we teamed up with the Village of New Hyde Park for a TNR program, Trap, Neuter, and Release, and it was a huge success. We have a great shelter here in the town of Hempstead and Wantagh. They do a really wonderful job, and you know what? And now that things have opened up more, residents have come. They've asked us to assist. When the village reached out to us, we were happy to partner with them. And the feedback we got from the village as well as the residents, they were happy with how everything functioned, and we're going to continue that. And if other villages want to team up with us, we sure will. It's like I said, it's a great program that was instituted many years ago. Unfortunately during the pandemic there had to be restrictions, but it's back, it's open, and you know what? The shelter's a great place, and while you're out, if anybody's looking for a loving dog or cat, they should really go visit the shelter. There's so many there that are just looking for a little love to come on home and take advantage of. And then the other program that you were referring to, the Narcan, you couldn't be any more timely on the subject. Unfortunately, you've read of the significant amount of overdoses that have taken place in the last week, particularly out on the East End with a bad batch of heroin. Councilman D'Esposito, who's a former New York City detective, created this program many years ago. He's almost given out almost 10,000 Narcan kits where he gives training on how to utilize them, administer them, and we give them to the residents. And we say anybody that literally shows up this program is saving a life. The drug epidemic or pandemic, as I'll call it, is in every community in Long Island. No, there's no community that does not have a drug problem. And anybody who doesn't think that is lying to themselves. Drugs do not care about ethnicity. They don't care about wealth. I see it firsthand in every community. Yep. These programs are great. This year in particular, he instituted a program on Sunday mornings and Saturday mornings at the beach. We kicked it off last month, and we have been astonished with the amount of residents that have been showing up on it, anywhere from 30 to 50. He's doing a few more, and he's actually been going out to communities. If you'd like to learn more, you can dial Town Hall at 516-489-5000. We'll give you the next location. But with this training that it takes, what, a half an hour, 45 minutes?
Yeah, it's a half an hour. And what's so interesting is the broad range of folks who do come. And as Don said, 30 to 40 and even more at times for every session. And it goes from parents with children, I think, learning, trying to give their children a sort of a little slice of life and what's out there and the pitfalls that are out there, to grandmothers, grandfathers who may be concerned about a grandchild or may be concerned about some other family member. So it's a very, very wide spectrum of folks who are coming to these Narcan sessions, and they've been highly successful. We wish we didn't have to do it, but thankfully we have Anthony D'Esposito leading these along with Supervisor Clavin, and
what was that?
They've been very, very successful.
What was that phone number again?
516-489-5000. That's our general number, and we will get you details of when the next program will be. And we do not only the weekend ones, we do them in the evening as well.
Great.
Excellent,
We've been following it on social media, and thank you again both for your time, and thank you for all the things you do, including that very important initiative here in the town of Hempstead.
Yeah,
so thank you both.
We want to thank you both, and we'll be telling our listeners all about the good things you're doing. That you have.
Thank you both, and
town.
stay safe and stay dry this weekend, and let's hope the hurricane takes the sharks.
Yep, there you go. Amen. So take care, be well, have a good weekend.
Enjoy the rest of your summer.
Thank you both, Kate and Don. Thank you very much.
All right, folks.
Wow.
Good stuff, Bill.
Yeah, that's, man. I think our listeners know that, the town of Hempstead is the largest in the United States.
Yeah, it catches people by surprise who don't realize it. When you hear that it's larger than Boston, I think that really kind of puts it into perspective. And we talked about it a little bit last week in terms of the census and the growing population. It looks like Suffolk County, I believe, actually took over as the second most populous county now in the state after, obviously, the city, and the boroughs. But point being that, it is a lot of humanity out here on Long Island.
Close to 1 million people just in the town of Hempstead.
Yeah, just in the town of Hempstead. So certainly not like those smaller hamlets you see out on Long Island.
Don and Kate definitely have their hands full with, But, it's to listen, like when you're talking to them, you see the scope and the array of things that they have to deal with, from sharks to getting people vaccinated to, and it's like, man.
Well, that's the whole thing of when you're in the executive side of government, and if you are a manager, whether it's of a big company or whether it's of a municipal government, the whole thing is that you should be the right person to be able to pick the right people to be in those places, so that you can kind of jump from issue to issue that impact the folks, but still have folks there that you can trust, that are always kind of keeping you informed of the most important stuff and doing all that hard work when people aren't looking. Not just when the cameras are rolling because there's some kind of crisis.
There used to be a term, they called it the chief cook and bottle washer. Kind of implies, you do everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if I don't do it, nobody will do it.
Yeah, that's fair. So, alrighty, good with that. Man. And we'll go on to now just the little time we have left here. It looks like maybe one story we might have time for. Maybe we can sneak into. We'll see what we do.
Okay. Well, here is a story from August 19th. Long Island surpassed 900 new daily COVID-19 cases for the second day in a row in data released Thursday, part of a trend that has seen the number of cases double in 3 weeks, fueled by the highly contagious Delta variant. Those numbers projected out could mean the island may return to levels seen in the worst days of the pandemic in March and April of 2020, though experts were divided Thursday on whether that would happen. There's no question the rates are much higher than they're much higher than a year ago. And a year ago, we didn't even have vaccines, said Dr. Bruce Farber, chief of infectious diseases at North Shore University Hospital in Manhasset and Long Island Jewish Medical Center in New Hyde Park. He says it's rather alarming. So while he is concerned, he said he doesn't think Long Island will go back to the dark days at the height of the pandemic, partly because many people are now vaccinated. But Dr. Sean Clouston, associate professor of public health at Stony Brook University, he said he's not so sure. The increase is very fast. It mirrors a lot of what we're seeing around the United States, he said. On Long Island, Well, this year we're looking at very fast growth, even though it's summer. So that bodes very poorly for the fall. I think we're headed for case rates that are as high or probably higher than March 2020, he added.
Hopefully not. But, it seems as the town supervisor just mentioned that, the infection rate is certainly, at a peak again for, about, like you just said, a year kind of in relativity. Mm-hmm. So it's not looking great. Obviously, there's a lot of news since we last spoke last week with the Dr. Siddiqui from the NYU Langone system. They did fully announce in the last week since we spoke with her that the booster shots will be expected after 8 months of the second dose, at least for the folks who received the mRNA vaccines. It's not just going to be people who are immunocompromised, but the Biden administration announced, I think, 2 days ago or so, that it will be eligible for anyone who did receive that. And I believe that's what the CDC is recommending.
Right.
So that certainly tells you, kind of that this is not completely over and that the Delta variant has changed things in terms of efficacy a bit. And people are still getting infected, unfortunately.
Here's some more information. Nassau County registered 407 new cases in test results from Wednesday, while Suffolk County had 515 for a total of 922. So as recently as June, the daily total was well below 100.
The one thing, though,
there's nothing to compare it to. There's just a comparative.
Yeah, well, the one thing we could say is, though, that the vaccines are having their, intended effect, in a positive sense, that if you look at the rates of people who are getting infected, the hospitalization rates and thank God the fatalities, rates are not, kind of at the same proportions, at least is what I'm, being told from the reporting that I'm reading. So that's one thing that we can all say, that even though people want to say, oh, well, you take the vaccine, but you can still get it. But the whole key, as we've discussed with multiple medical professionals, you won't likely be as, kind of sick. And if you are hospitalized, you're not as likely to therefore obviously pass away and succumb to the virus or the after effects. So that's certainly important to know, and we'll keep looking at that as things obviously develop. And
the other thing it says, too, is that the positivity level in testing for COVID-19 on Long Island inched up to 3.96%, continuing an upward trend this summer. The level was 0.35% on June 29th.
Exactly. So we're certainly over that 1% threshold, but thank God we're not near that 10% threshold where, things obviously change, pretty dramatically in terms of our everyday life. But, it depends on what we do as a population. This isn't, something that's, disconnected from, humans kind of action. So certainly, as we discussed, get vaccinated. There's plenty of options to do it, and do whatever you need to do to make sure your family and yourself are safe. So, all right, that's enough of COVID for the moment. Let's just mention a few quick headlines and some other information just in the last minute or two we have here left. I did just want to bring up, Bill, obviously, I know you've been watching. I know we've discussed kind of off air. We don't have time right now to go deep into it, but maybe next week that obviously we're seeing what's happening in Afghanistan. Most of my, adult true childhood life has been consumed with the backdrop of 9/11 and obviously the Afghan war front and also the Iraqi again theater of war, as they say. So certainly it was pretty disturbing to everyone when we saw the images of folks as the American government did as was kind of discussed by multiple presidents now, both Republican and Democrat, to pull out and to leave the area back into the Afghan government control and the Afghan military, which very, very quickly resulted in the Taliban taking over, for the most part, without much violence, just managing to say that, we're going to be in charge. And unless you, want to get shot, basically, then you're going to go along. And it seems like most of the military just folded. So I know John Azare had a piece that we recommend that says on Long Island, heartache and frustration over Afghanistan. Long Island's Afghan community, which nearly totals 7,000, in addition to the U.S. veterans, which is a big community out here on Long Island, are seriously, expressing their sadness at the deteriorating security situation from the withdrawal. So certainly go and give that a read. That's certainly a lot of good information on what exactly is going on and, how this has been, decades in the making. And I just want to also give another update. in terms of the Cuomo investigations, lawmakers did do a little bit of a reversal, although it seems that they are not going to move to impeach, which is a whole nother larger conversation. They did announce that the Assembly will issue the report from the Judiciary Committee's investigation to the public, which would show, what they found in addition to what the Attorney General found.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
I think the minute they figured out it was going to cost them millions of dollars and the governor's already out, it was not worth it.
Well, it's complicated. People are saying, did Hasty get some kind of deal worked out with, Governor Cuomo, kind of in a back room? What are the ramifications? We probably won't know for a long time what exactly happens. Will he plan a comeback tour? Because technically people come out of retirement a lot easier than they do from, being previously impeached. Yeah. We will see. So that's it, I think, for all the news. I just wanted to mention one last thing here real quick, that obviously another thing that's been impacting residents of Long Island, and anyone who is Haitian in specific of descent, is the massive earthquake and disaster there in Haiti with, I believe, over 2,000 people confirmed killed at this point. And obviously the recovery still is ongoing, as there was a hurricane, I believe, moving through that area as well, making things more difficult. So I just wanted to tell folks that this Monday, August 23rd at 7 p.m. at the Nassau County Legislature's Capitol building, that's the Teddy Roosevelt building in Mineola, there will be a vigil that's organized by the county executive and friend of the show, Assemblywoman Mikhail Salages, and her sibling, who's a county legislator, bringing attention to that issue. And there's also information on our social media you can find at TWLI News on some very reputable places that she's put out, the Assemblywoman, on where you can kind of inquire to donate and to hopefully make a difference in that very difficult situation.
We also have, there's just a quick note, the lawyers for ex-Suffolk District Attorney Thomas Spoda and top aide Christopher McPartland filed notices that they will appeal the sentence that a federal judge gave their clients last week, as well as their 2019 corruption convictions. Well, I think we all saw that coming. And on a little lighter note, well, although not really, those of you who are avid Jeopardy fans, heard that Mike Richards and Mayim Bialik were, apparently Mike Richards is now going to be out.
That happened. That one was catching a lot of waves. I know there was some kind of baggage, it sounded like, from his days over at The Price is Right and some other kind of production position. Yeah. So, all right. I mean, she's a well-known name, way more well-known than he is.
Well, we'll see what they're going to do, though. I don't know that they're just going to, go to Mayim Bialik and put her in as the regular, or if they're going to find a replacement for him and leave her as the special events host. It's an interesting question, and normally that type of stuff isn't news for game shows, but when it's something that's such a cultural institution, Jeopardy, and all the kind of screen time and information that was kind of moderated by Alex Trebek, the former host, who unfortunately passed away. Certainly, it is something that people are following, fans definitely. And just kind of casual kind of knowers of the show. Last thing I'll just mention, Amityville is poised to become the only municipality on Long Island to leave the question of whether to opt out of recreational marijuana sales up to the voters. They're going to leave it as a ballot initiative, which is interesting. So we'll follow up on that and learn more about that. Okay. That was reported by Denise Bonilla in Newsday. So look for that, and obviously follow us on social media at TWLI News. Very cool.
Thank you, as always, everyone.
All right, and everybody batten down the hatches and, take care of yourself. There is a little storm coming, so we have no idea. The models say things, but we don't know until we see it. So be careful, and the clock on the wall is making faces at me now. It's time to move on out of here. So we thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time, same place, on this week's Long Island News, right here on 90.3 WHPC.